million, let's cover our uniforms with some sort of shirt or smock before dining in the cafeteria. It's interesting that you choose the word dining. Grown men and women in red and white striped candy cane leggings do not dine. We feed. For the first couple of weeks, we had to suffer the jokes about our costumes from the year-round employees, them not knowing that we actually make more money than they do. Yesterday, I had lunch with a Flushing elf by the name of Ginger Snap. She's a plump, squat woman whose knickers fit her like tights. Complementing the overall look is a thick pair of oversized glasses and a swarm of plastic barrettes that she uses to clamp down her hair. I remember Ginger Snap from training, and I'm surprised that she's actually lasted this long. No one could accuse her of not being enthusiastic. Any more energy, they'd have to medicate her. Her problem is that she's, well, stupid. I mean, we would be in training, and she would have her hand up every 2 minutes, asking questions that were so obvious, I wondered how she ever managed to find her way to the 8th floor. We would be in training, going over time, waiting to go home, and she would raise her hand and ask, "Yes, can we wear our uniforms home?" Who would want to? Look at this. What possible pleasure could it give you to board the New York subway dressed as a gnome? The management had already laid down the law about our uniforms. Her question was pointless. It was like asking, "Yes, can we force the children onto Santa's lap at knife point?" No. The answer to that question would be no. Now, if you'll sit down and shut up, please. Later on, at the end of the training session, I actually watched as she approached one of the managers, asking if she could be an elf, year-round. I've actually met elves from all walks of life. Most of them are show business people, they're actors or dancers, but a surprising number of them actually held real jobs as advertising executives or in brokerage firms. Bless their hearts. These people never imagined there was a green velvet uniform in their futures. These are the real bitter elves. Like today, I had lunch with one that I have codenamed Flaky. Flaky just recently moved here from Kansas City, Missouri, and she is not very happy to be working as one of Santa's elves. Every time I come across her, I see her explaining to someone, "I'd rather be a starving artist in New York than artistically starving in Kansas City, Missouri." Ew? I mean, it makes me wince. She even tells this to children. "I'm not a real elf. I'm an artist." Well, Flaky showed me some slides of her work. During her off hours, apparently she occupies her time by gluing human hair to telephone receivers and clock radios. Everything she touches winds up looking like a Persian cat. "Oh," I said, what a cute idea." Well, that was the wrong thing to say, as she strenuously objected to the word cute and then proceeded to try to sell me a blonde clock radio, telling me she could let it go to me for $300. I said, aside from the fact that I don't have $300, who wants to part the bangs on their alarm clock to tell the time, dear? But my overall least favorite elf is this guy from Florida that I have nicknamed the Walrus. The Walrus has a handlebar mustache, no chin, and a neck the size of my waist. In the dressing room, he confesses to being a bit of a ladies' man. He believes that Santaland is one giant singles bar. It is embarrassing to work with him. We'll be standing beside the magic tree. He'll place his arm around some poor unsuspecting woman and say, "You know, I know you're not going to ask Santa for good looks. You've already got those, pretty lady." In his mind, the women are charmed, dizzy with his attention. I pull him aside and I say, "You know what? That was a mother you just did that to, a married woman with 3 children. He'll say, "Well, I didn't see no ring." Then turn to the next available woman and whistle. Santa may be married, honey, but I'm not. But most of the elves actually are college students. They're young and kind of cute, and one of the job perks is I get to see them in their underwear. The changing rooms are located in the employee bathrooms behind Santaland. The men's room is very small, and the toilets often overflow, so we're forced to stand on islands of newspapers to keep our socks dry. The Santas actually have a nice dressing room across the hall, but you don't want to see any of the Santas undress. But my overall favorite elf is this guy from Queens by the name of Snowball. Snowball tends to ham it up with the children, literally tumbling down the house to Santa, tumbling down the path to Santa's house. Now, I tend to frown on such behavior, but Snowball is just hands down adorable. You want to put him in your pocket. The other day, I began getting excited when we were Santa's elves together, and he started saying things like, "You know what? I'd follow you to Santa's house any day, Crumpet." I was dizzy with this flirtation. By mid-afternoon, I was kind of bumping into walls. After our shift, we were changing in the employee bathrooms, when suddenly, we were surrounded by 3 Santas and 5 other elves. All of which were guys that Snowball had been flirting with. Snowball just leads elves on. Elves and Santas. Later on, I actually was in the elevator with him when I heard him explain to a friend of his, "You know what? I don't know what all these guys want with me. Gives me the creeps the way they stare." Snowball is playing a dangerous game. It is one thing to get a child all fired up, but you don't want to be working under a jilted Santa.
Braking elves should now report to the manager's station for reassignment. Break is over.
I'd say about a third of Santaland visitors are adults, couples, and a surprising number of men and women alone. Most of the single adults actually don't want to sit on Santa's lap. They just stop by and shake his hand and they wish him luck. But many a times, the adults are actually foreigners who happen to be shopping at Macy's when they got bullied into the maze by the entrance elf, whose job it is to hustle people in. One moment, the poor foreigner is standing there looking at China. The next he knows, he's standing before the magic tree, where an elf with a palm-sized counter asks, "How many in your party?" The foreigner replies, "Yes." And now, "How many in your party" is not like a yes or no question. The foreigner replies, "Yes." Then a Santaland elf will escort him to Santa's house, where he is greeted by a bearded man in a red suit. The foreigner will reply, "Yes, okay, today I am good." Oh, there was this one guy, a sloppy, good-looking man in his mid-40s. I thought he was another confused European, so I assured him that many adults come to see Santa. Everyone is welcome. Well, I saw the same man about an hour later back again to fellowship with Santa. And I asked what he and Santa talked about. And in a cracked and puny voice, he answered, "Toys! All the toys!" Oh. I looked on the left side of the man's head and I saw a dent. You could place an acorn in a dent this size. He waited in line a third time, and then on his final visit, he got so excited he peed in Santa's lap. Oh, there were these 2 New Jersey families. 2 loud, ugly husbands with 2 wives and 4 children between them. The children were nestled around Santa and they had their photographs taken. And when one of the 10-year-old boys was asked what he wanted for Christmas, the father replied, "A woman! Get him a woman, Santa!" These men were very loud and irritating, constantly jostling and joking with one another. When the wives sat on Santa's lap, each asked for a KitchenAid brand dishwasher and a decent winter coat. When the husband sat on Santa's lap, one of the men replied when he was asked what he wanted for Christmas, I want a broad with big tits. The man's small-breasted wife crossed her arms in front of her chest, gritted her teeth, and looked at the floor. The man's son tried to laugh. Uh-oh. So far in Santaland, I have seen the old Simone from General Hospital, Sean from All My Children, Walter Cronkite, and Phil Collins. Last year, one of the elves was suspended after having asked Goldie Hawn to autograph her hand. We have been instructed to leave the stars alone. Phil Collins was short, and he was well-groomed. He arrived with his daughter in an entourage of 3. Now, I don't care about Phil Collins one way or the other, but I saw some people who might. And I thought it was my duty to tap them on the shoulder and explain, "Look, there's Phil Collins." Many of Santaland visitors are from out of town, and they welcome a chance to meet a celebrity as it rounds out their New York experience. Seeing it was my job to make people happy, I didn't have a problem with it. Well, anyway, Phil Collins wandered around the maze, videotaping everything and thoroughly enjoying himself. And then when he entered the magic tree, he was no longer visible to the maze audience. So I began telling people that if they left immediately and took a right by the exit, they could catch up with Phil Collins. And so they did. People left. And when Phil Collins came out of Santaland, he was greeted by 50 to 60 people, all wanting his autograph. Oops. When the management came looking for the big mouth, I simply said, "Phil Collins? Who's that?" Oh, but the really exciting thing is I was talking with Sleigh Bell. She's a performer who's making a video with her all-girl singing group. And we were talking about one thing or another, and she says that she's been on some television shows, mostly soap operas. So I asked, "Have you ever been on One Life to Live?" And she said, "Yes." She had a bit part a few years ago as a flamenco dancer when Court and Tina got married and went to Madrid for their honeymoon. and suddenly, I remember Sleigh Bell perfectly. On that episode, she wore a red lace dress and stomped upon a shiny dance floor until Spain's greatest bullfighter entered, challenging Court to a duel. Sleigh Bell intervened and said, "Don't do it, senor! You'd be a fool to fight with Spain's greatest bullfighter!" Anyway, we were talking, and then Carlton, another manager, joined in and said that he's been on One Life to Live 7 times. He played Clint's lawyer about 5 years ago when the entire Buchanan family was on trial for the murder of Mitch Lawrence. He actually knows Victoria Buchanan personally, and says that she's just as sweet and charming in real life as she is on television. She's basically playing herself, except for the multiple personality disorder. He also said that Clint tends to keep to himself, but that Bo and Asa are a lot of fun. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I know people who have sat around with Tina, Court, Nikki, Asa, Bo, and Clint. I'm honing in. I'm getting closer. I can feel it.